It's not all about that standardized test. And it's a lot about what teachers are doing, like that formative assessment. What we're doing, it's too late. It's too late if we wait for EOC or start time. It's too late. This is something that needs to be happening ongoing, all the time, every day. Are they there or are they not there? How do I need to adjust? You are, again, the content expert, the educational expert leader in your classroom. So then you need to adjust. Like I've been adjusting all day. Flashing PowerPoint, room where desks don't fit. You know what I mean? That's happening. That's life. So then we need to go with it. We need to figure out, okay, and this is where you have your little arsenal, your little toolbox. Like, hey, man, that's not going to work, right? And I was thinking, man, if I had my computer, I could pop out those questions right now. So what can I do? I could do something like this with the kids. I could say, okay, guys, you guys are the kids, okay? You guys don't have your cards, you have your tree maps. But if I say, this allows students to construct their own learning with techniques such as think aloud, appropriate question levels, things like this. What do you think it is? Strategies. What? Strategies. Excellent strategies. Very good. Okay. Appropriate pacing while students are engaged 90 to 100% of the instructional period. Lesson delivery, very good. Hands-on materials and or manipulatives include activities for students to apply their knowledge. Okay, very good. Practice and application. Now I'm getting them, a lot of you guys, first of all, how do you feel? Do you feel more confident? Like, if I would have asked you that at the beginning of the day, you'd be like, I don't know what this lady's talking about, and then you wouldn't look at me. Right now, you guys are all looking at me. You're pretty good eye contact. We're looking. Why? Because you feel confident, you feel comfortable that if I say it, you're going to be able to, be able to save face and say, hey, I know this, right? You don't want to feel that way. Kids don't want to feel that way. Okay. Comprehensive review of key vocabulary and concepts. Assessment. Very good. Assessment. So the same thing. We could do a pop out. I could say it, you could throw a thing, I could say the next one, or I could not even do it. You could do it. I could say, hey, I'm sorry, I should know somebody's name, but I don't, because I haven't wrapped it. Joseph? Okay?
Yes.
I could say, Joseph, can you read one out for me? Anyone?
Sure. Frequent opportunities for student discourse and discussion.
Excellent. Anybody? Anybody? Interaction. Very good, says Sap's cousin. Can you read another one?
Selecting appropriate content concepts, use of supplemental materials, and adaptation of content and meaningful activities.
Excellent. Look at, nobody looked. She's a good reader. Anybody? 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 Very good. Art teacher. Read one.
Hands-on materials and or manipulatives and include activities for students to apply their knowledge.
Person on that table somewhere?
Practice and application.
Excellent. Practice and application. Say one. Read one.
Appropriate pacing while students are engaged 90 to 100% of the instructional period.
Lesson delivery. Okay, so do you see how we could do this in the classroom? Okay, this in any content area. It doesn't have to just be, this is SIOP, because today we're learning about SIOP. It could be equations, different types of equations. It could be middle school science, earth science, right? What are all the different strata of the earth and why it's a composition of the crust or something like that, right? Yes, sir?
Somebody comes and observes my class. And they say, what makes this sheltered? What do I tell them?
You tell it it's one of the 8 components. I am addressing lesson delivery. I'm hitting review right now and assessment because I'm walking around and addressing this. I'm hitting interaction. I'm doing a great job. I hit prep because I worked on this and I thought about the delivery of this classroom. I'm working, you got this. Okay?
I'm ready.
You're ready. Okay? So that's SIOP, called hands up, pair up, right? And the kids, or hands pair share or something like that. It's the same thing. I don't do that because it feels weird to me. So I need to get out of my own comfort zone and just say, okay, let's do that. But this makes me feel comfortable because I could tell where they've gone, who they've gone with, they've hit every person. That one, I feel like the kids are walking around and they're going to find their best friend in the classroom and say, hey, I'm going to work with you, right? Like, that one makes me a little nervous. I haven't quite, I'm like touching the water on that one. We're like, that's next. Something like this too. You have your cards. So another great way, and I love this one too, say for example, I'm sitting with them, right? They're my four, I would have theoretically another person. I have an imaginary person here, right? So each one has our card. Oh, I have the cards. It's called fan and pick. So I would fan it, and I would say, pick a card, any card. Not that one. Oh, okay, sure. Okay, here, pick that one. Okay, because this is the titles are still in this one. Okay, don't say because I don't. It's because the titles. Okay, and I would say, okay, so I did that. Fan, pick a card, any card. She picks it. Now you're going to read it to her.
Regularly giving specific academic feedback to students and conduct assessment of student comprehension and learning throughout a lesson.
Okay, that's
So stop. We're going to take a little snapshot. What just happened there? She had to, 1, read, 2, she had to speak using words that she would never use, okay? And she feels comfortable because it's on some kind of help, support. Okay, so then now you're going to think. We're back in. Go.
okay. Review and assessment.
Very good.
Okay, you give her praise, good job, excellent, okay? So then you put the card down, so then I pass you the cards. And you would say, pick a card, any card. Then she reads it to me.
Okay. Implement lessons that clearly support content and language objectives.
Help, I don't know. Help me.
Well, this is something that you do after you have selected your materials, after you have decide what strategies you're going to use.
Lesson delivery?
Yes.
Okay, and you say, I take a deep breath on my, and you say, good job. Okay, then you give her the cards.
You put it down.
Okay. There you go.
You say, pick a card, any card. Tell me.
Pick a card.
Anything. Okay, good. Then now you see how everybody's doing it? So everybody has to do it. I hate when people say, I don't hate it, that's the wrong word. I dislike it when people say they're doing cooperative learning because the kids are sitting in groups of 4.
Okay.
That is not cooperative learning. Not by, it looks like it, but what happens sometimes if it's not structured? Really, what happens? What happens?
One person's doing all the work.
One person's doing all the work, the other 2 are like, if you have flashcards, okay, baby steps, we're working in the right direction, but what happens is 2 people, either one person hugs up the cards and then says, forget you guys, I'm going to pass this, and then they're like going through the cards, or maybe 2 of them, or maybe one person is the only reader and reads the cards and everybody else is like, review and assessment. They're trying to guess.
And that person's not.
And that person's not learning, or practicing. So when we do something like this, and everybody has to read, everybody has to coach, everybody has to practice the word. Okay? So again, one sheet of paper, one set of cards, and I could use it a bunch of different ways. Okay? So a lot of the times is, people get bogged down and they always want to say, it's because it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to prep for all those things. It can, but it doesn't have to. Okay, it just takes, again, starting to add. I liked what she said during lunch, like, that doesn't mean you're going to use all this stuff. You may not even like any of the stuff I'm doing, but you might say, hey, okay, and then you'll adjust it to work for you. Okay?
Work with another team of teachers also, right? Share materials.
Yes.
And my literacy coach, who's at my school, available in the morning.
Yeah, and then go through it.
Ideas.
And then what's a different way? Hey, I'm always thinking about it in this perspective. Give me a different way to look at it. Okay, so something super easy, guys. Alrighty, so prep. Next step.
Building background.
Very good. 3rd one. 4th one. 5th. Okay. 6th. Okay, have we gotten to lesson delivery yet? Okay, application and practice, we did that, right? Okay, so now we're kind of towards the end here. Okay, so find someone a few little things that I've learned along the way. Have the kids put their name on the paper. Because if they don't, they will never find their paper again. Okay? Because they're walking all over the classroom and interacting with kids, and they put the paper down, and then somebody else picked it up, and then you don't remember which one was yours. Okay? So, at the beginning of my anatomy class, one of the big things is they need to be able to, first of all, if we're taking anatomy and physiology, what is anatomy? What is physiology? Right? So, well, anatomy, the study of the structures, right? The actual parts. That's anatomy. So then what's the difference between that and physiology? Physiology is the function. Okay? So then I need to clear that up. I think it's a really big deal. If you're going to be taking something, you need to know what you're taking. So if you're taking SIOP today, what's SIOP and why are you here? Right? If you don't know that when you leave, then I did something bad, right? So find someone who, and the kid would walk around, right? Hey, can you define anatomy? And you'd be like, okay. So you'd find someone who, and so what happens? The kids look, they peruse through the questions, and they find the one that they're comfortable with. Hey, I know that one. And then what I start hearing, I got number 10, I got number 10, I got number 10 because they know it. And then it's a good review. They're walking around, they're helping each other out. The kid gives me the answer, and then signs. Okay? Now, you can only sign my paper one time. No more than that. So that means I have to move on. So this is the way it would work. At the end, when we're done, everyone's finished, then it's a perfect review for the class. If I'm doing this for a test or something, then they have it all. They have a perfect study guide all in one shot. Okay? Then I could say, okay, I love your, Joseph, I know you, you're my guy, okay? So I'll tell Joseph, okay, Joseph, find someone who can define anatomy, and then you would say, well, anatomy is, and you tell me, and I say, okay, who gave you that answer? And you would say, Cesar's cousin, and I would say, okay, Cesar's cousin. Number 2, can describe the anatomical position, and then you would tell me the answer, and then you would tell me who gave you that answer, and then that shoot out to that person. So now, everyone's bumping back and forth. Everyone had to participate because everyone had to answer someone. And then you are accountable for helping somebody out. You just can't be like, oh, I think it's this. No, like it's somebody else's paper. You need to help them. And so this is super great, super easy, super fast. Okay? So it's called Find Someone Who. You guys have any questions about this one? A lot of times the kids are like, how are you going to grade me? Because kids love grades, right? It's like that whole thing. Nobody wants to do anything unless you're going to get something out of it, right? Mm-hmm. So then it's hard. It's hard to do that. I'm like, oh, I'm going to put a stamp on it. Great job. I could do that. Or then I could say, okay, first kid turns it in, got 100. Second kid, 99. Third kid, 97. And, so then people are working, right? And it's just a participation grade. Nobody's going to get lower than a 90. You know what I mean? But then I don't have the kids who are like waiting. And if they are like that, well, what's the worst thing that can happen to them? Or you could just write it and not actually give it to them as a grade. You know what I mean? But it's a motivator. Okay, let's move it. Okay, guys, so that's that. And we're kind of getting close to the end here. And the last thing that we need to cover, so let's go through it. Preparation. What's the second one? Third one? Fourth? You guys are reading it.
Strategies.
What is? You're saying strategies and somebody's saying something else. It's making me nervous. What is the fourth one? Strategies, good. Fifth? I had to look at my notes. Sixth? Okay, next one. Lesson delivery. Okay, so we're going to look at that really quick, and she kind of bailed me out of this because she has a copy. So you guys all are getting this, okay? So lesson delivery. What I've seen sometimes is, well, no, I've never seen it, unfortunately. This is the actual rubric kind of guide that is in the SIOP protocol. Okay, like what entails a good SIOP lesson. Okay, and so this is the rubric used for that. Do I think that every lesson's going to hit every single little thing? Unless you're like a master teacher, I think that's going to be pretty hard, right? So this is kind of, I think, a good thing to have like in your lesson planning binder or somewhere when you start planning out a lesson. And I don't mean like the lesson plan you're going to submit. I'm doing this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. No, I mean when you're actually envisioning what the lesson's going to look like in the classroom with the kids. Okay? Because what you put down on the paper saying, Monday I'm doing this, it's not actually breaking down on everything that's what the lesson's going to look like. Okay? So what can we do? Well, we could keep this in mind when we're developing our lesson. Okay? And it gives you basically, this is the actual protocol. You see at the top it says observer. Okay? Date, grade, class, teacher, school, ESL level, lesson. Okay? So directions, circle the number that best reflects what you observe in your sheltered lesson. You may give a score of 0 to 4. Cite under comments specific examples of behaviors observed. Total score, which is a percentage, and yada, 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 right? What I think is, how this could be used where it's actually the most useful and introspective and actually going to work, videotape yourself. Okay? Because when other people are videotaping you, or when it's an administrator videotaping you, then there's some like sense of anxiety associated with that, and we don't always perform at our best. Okay? Even when you're comfortable with the topic. I'm not, the camera, it changes your behavior slightly, right? Okay, but when you're videotaping yourself, okay, and it's only going to be you watching, then watch it and score it. Go through your lesson. And these are all the different components. So again, preparation, building background knowledge, comprehensible input, strategies, interaction, practice and application, lesson delivery, and review and assessment. Okay? Go through it and see, hey, was it there? Did I get it? I didn't even touch upon that. Okay? Yes, sir.
You had said earlier that like the development of SIOP was as like kind of like quantitative, qualitative method to measure the students themselves, right?
To measure the teacher.
I'm sorry, to measure the teacher. Does that mean it's possible to create like from this more like modern like version of it, like a measurement of ourselves, not as like a single moment, but across time?
I don't understand what
Like
you're
a
asking.
self-reflective piece,
Yes.
a tool.
From like multiple of
He
these.
could
Yes,
evaluate
you sure
himself in the
can.
teaching process.
Videotape yourself several different times and then see where you're getting, where's your biggest weakness and where your strength is and where you have room for improvement, definitely. But one of the things that we need to keep in mind is, again, lessons change. And you have to pick what's the best strategy that I'm going to use to get this point across today, right? If I'm working on sequencing or I want the kids to learn, what happened first, second, third, I might not necessarily have decided, hey, I'm going to use these. This might not be the best thing to use for that lesson, okay? So I honestly, I'm just saying, call me cynical, but I just think it would be super hard to hit 4s on everything all the way through this thing, right? The goal is to do really well and see it in all your lessons. But, I mean, don't be super hard on yourself if you're not going to get 4s on everything. But the whole point is then see where there's room for improvement. Like, hey, man, I don't do it too great. Like, I was rushing it so quickly that I didn't even get to assess whether they got it or not. I need to slow down on that part and make sure that I embed something in my lesson where I'm going to be assessing. It doesn't have to be like, again, I was assessing you guys. It was not the super, hey, I'm going to give you a quiz, but I could tell, like walking around, I'm listening to answers that are given. That's formative assessment. I could be doing that throughout the lesson, okay?